Today we're going to be talking to you about the origins of the ideas of monogamy and polygamy, along with explaining just where the love triangle originates. So the first thing we need to understand is as above, so below. The planets and the sun and the moon live in the world of cause, where we here on Earth live in the world of effect. What happens up there happens down here, just like the Emerald Tablet of Hermes says. This is where the saying, "it was written in the stars," comes from. So number 2, there are only 7 heavenly objects that can be seen with the naked eye. In the center is our star, the sun. Next is Mercury. After that is Venus. Thing closest to us is the moon. Then comes Mars, Jupiter, and finally Saturn. The idea of monogamy comes from the relationship between the sun and the moon. The sun provides light during the day, and by night his light is reflected off of his partner, the moon, who keeps a watchful eye until he rises again in the morning. The moon is the only other object you can see while the sun is still out. All the others hide away. The sun is the divine masculine, the moon divine feminine. The sun is masculine because of his heat, his rays of light, the seeds of life radiate outward. When he rises over the water, his light is reflected off the surface and appears below him like a beard. His effects are powerful and easily noticeable. The moon is feminine. She receives his light and reflects it down to earth. She controls the tides, and water is also feminine. The oceans are deep, mysterious, and full of life. The feminine energy is one of emotion, and when we as humans get emotional, water tends to flow like a river from our eyes. The moon is also responsible for the menstrual cycle of women. Thus, menstrual is moonstrel, moonstrel, menstrual. The masculine, coupled with the feminine, is how life is created, the two equal, opposite, and complementary energies of creation. The most obvious tie to this idea of monogamy is from the eclipses. During a total solar eclipse, when the moon is in front of the sun, due to its impurities or craters on the moon which keep it from being a perfect sphere, a bright, beautiful ring appears around the moon, and it is adorned with what looks like a magnificent shimmery diamond. This is called the Bailey's bead effect, or better known as the diamond ring effect. This is also why it's tradition for the man to buy the woman a diamond ring and for him to propose to her. It's traditional. Doesn't mean it's the right way or it's the only way, it's just traditional. These same principles is how the idea of polygamy come about. Because the masculine sun radiates his light to more than just the moon, and because all the planets receive his light, one could argue that everything in the solar system, save the sun, can be considered feminine, and thus men should be allowed more than one wife.
What?
I don't agree with this idea. I believe humans were not meant to be monogamous, but I don't think polygamy is the way to go either. That's why we tend to have multiple partners before choosing someone to marry. Monogamy is a choice, and if you make that choice, then you should make it completely and fully. You should commit to that one person. Serial monogamy, I believe, is the happy medium between monogamy and polygamy. And finally, we come to the all too familiar love triangle. Why is this so common in our lives? Once again, the answers lie above our heads within the relationships of the celestial bodies. We've discussed how the sun and moon have a clear relationship. The sun and moon are a married couple, so proven with the phenomenon of the eclipses. So who's the third? It's the sun's arch nemesis, Saturn. Theirs is a more subtle and hidden affair. You see, if the sun is the good guy, the hero, the light side, then Saturn is the bad boy, the villain, the dark side. If the moon is Bella, the sun is Team Edward, and Saturn is Team Jacob. The sun and Saturn are at opposite ends. This is why the sun's day, Sunday, and Saturn's day, Saturday, are the weekends. Earth, and therefore the moon, are right in the middle between those two bodies, 3 away from each. Between the moon and the sun is Venus and Mercury, while between the moon and Saturn is Mars and Jupiter. The moon is also tagged with the more negative aspects of life, just like Saturn. The moon is most prominent in the night sky, which is where Saturn rules. And lastly, the moon is the closest celestial body we can observe with the naked eye, and it has an orbit of roughly 30 days around the Earth. And Saturn is the furthest celestial body we can observe with the naked eye, and he has an orbit of roughly 30 years around the sun. So you can see that the moon and Saturn have the same orbit pattern, just on a different scale, and thus, the divine love triangle in the sky is formed and manifests in our lives so commonly, because once again, as above, so below. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.